Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're checking out the 2019 Raleigh Detour IE, and it comes in a couple different frame styles. We got the high step over here with the matte blue, matte black with blue accents, and then we've got the step through with white and orange accents, and I believe this one might also come in the blue and black color scheme, which is nice. Traditionally, this is kind of like a feminine look with the step through, but more and more guys have been going to this, especially if you're a little bit older, because you've got like a hip or a knee sensitivity. And when you look at a bike like this with a rear rack, if you had panniers or a trunk bag and you're trying to swing your leg over or, you know, kind of tip the bike towards you and get your leg up that high, it could be a little bit precarious. The bike's not super heavy. It's about 48 pounds, which isn't bad considering that it's got fenders. These are just plastic, and then a steel rack. It looks pretty sturdy, but we weren't able to figure out the weight capacity on this. It does have some support bars here, and you could potentially put a trunk bag or panniers or something, but the tubing is a little bit thicker. It's not standard gauge, and there's no pannier blocker, no bungee loop. So in some ways, the racks, it kind of seems a little bit cheaper. It is bolt-on, so you could take that off if you wanted and add something else. And it looks like there's a mounting point for either a light or a rear reflector. These are the pedals. They're plastic VP, kind of get the job done, but again, a little bit more affordable. There are a few trade-offs like that on the bike, including the fenders. When you look at these, they do have a couple of support struts, and they allow you to adjust sort of up and back. My experience with these is that they can be a little bit annoying and maybe start to rub sometimes. So I love that they have extra support points so that once you do get it set up, they really haven't been rattling too much, and they aren't rubbing right now, so I think we're good. It's just not the same as like some of these other fenders where they're kind of like double walled and really strong and sturdy. But again, you know, keeping the price point pretty low here. This is about $2,300 on this, so $2,299. That's not bad at all for a bike that comes with puncture-resistant Schwalbe tires. They've got the reflective sidewall stripe. We've got a 9-speed Shimano Acera drivetrain. I believe this is 11 to 34 tooth right there, and they've got the trigger shifters with a little window and multi-shift, so you can kind of click, click, click like that and switch gears a little bit more quickly and efficiently. Swept back handlebar, aluminum alloy, bit of a rise to it. Ergonomic grips. They are not locking, so again, just a little step back there. But the big win for me is these Tektro Ariga hydraulic disc brakes, 2-finger levers. That's all you really need when it comes to hydraulic disc brakes. The rotors aren't super big at 160 millimeters, but they definitely get the job done for cruising around town. And you could step this up to a commuting platform by adding some lights. You could do external, like rechargeable lights that clip onto the handlebar, maybe back here if you're wearing a backpack or a helmet or something like that. That gets the job done, but then you kind of got to remember to turn them on, turn them off. Integrated lights is really the way to go, and I've been told that the Shimano drive system, there's like a connection point in there, so you can actually wire lights in, and you can work with a shop to get that done. So that's pretty neat. You could take advantage of this roughly 400 watt-hour battery capacity here. This is 36 volts, 11.6 amp hours. It is removable, but you don't have to take it off. You can charge it right on the frame. There's the port, and then they've got a little cover here with a leash, so it's not going to fall off and get misplaced, which I really appreciate. Sometimes you've got your hands full, maybe a little bit distracted, and it's nice to have the bike sort of complete like that. This is their new charger. It's really compact and lightweight. It's like 1.4 pounds. The E6100. See how small this thing is? Some of the other Shimano chargers are really big, kind of heavy, but this one only puts out 1.8 amps, so it's a little bit slower. And you can see that the plug port design here is very compact and small, but there's another dongle, like a big brick thing that comes with this, and you need that brick in order to plug directly into the battery pack itself. So I want to kind of show you what this looks like to get the battery off. It's like 5.9 pounds. We just insert the key here. It's an ABIS key, so you could get this key to maybe a folding lock or something. Pull it off. There's a little handle underneath. Lift it up, and then see the bottom? See how big that port is right there? That's what I'm talking about. It's like you need that little dongle to go from the tiny plug to the big port. So to me, that's kind of a missed opportunity. And when I look at other companies like Bosch, they only ever had really like one port design, and the charger works whether it's on the bike or not. And I do like to take my batteries off, especially if I'm lifting the bike, loading it onto a car, or maybe carrying it upstairs. I also store my battery in a cool, dry location. Sometimes that means inside, especially if my bike is parked outside to keep the house clean. But these batteries with the lithium-ion battery packs, they can be kind of sensitive to extreme heat, extreme cold. But then again, so you've got that dongle, and the dongle, we don't have it with us right now, and there's no like leash to keep it close to the charger. So to me, it's just overly complex. Shimano is a great company. You know, they make the drivetrain here. That's the Shimano Acera. They make the shifters. A lot of times they also make hydraulic brakes. In this case, it's Tektro. But, you know, it's a fairly complete system when you go all Shimano. And I just feel like that's been the case for several years now with their battery, where they have that dongle adapter. And it's extra stuff that you have to worry about. So for me, that's an area of potential improvement in the future. But they have improved their motor. I've reviewed a very similar motor, and it was called the E6000. Now this is the E6100, so it's like one step up, and it offers 60 Newton meters of torque versus 50 before, and it's a little bit zippier. So before it delivered like 50% feedback at the lower level of assist, now it's 70%, and it goes up from there. It seems to give you pretty high cadence support too, which means if you're pedaling really fast, the motor can keep up with you and still provide support. There is a cadence readout on the display, and on the way over here, I was pedaling at like 120, 130 RPM, and I could still hear the motor listening. And so my understanding is that it measures your rear wheel speed with that sensor, pedal cadence, and pedal torque. I don't know how rapidly it's doing that, and I don't think this system has shift detection, but it's definitely dynamic and fluid. It feels very natural, and the motor itself is like 6.35 pounds, very lightweight, very compact. It's got this like plastic shell. Keeps weight low and centered on the frame. Same thing with the battery, and the battery has this little LED power readout, and you can activate that whether it's on the bike or not. So coming back to the scenario of leaving the bike outside parked at a rack and then taking this inside, also being able to take the display off. Check this out, there's like a little clip on the bottom. You could take that and put it in your pocket so no one can tamper with your display at the bike rack. I really appreciate that, and it's not gonna get worn down by the weather and stuff. It's very big, it's kind of shiny, so it's nice that it swivels a little bit if you don't over tighten the clamp, the bracket. It's got a remote button pad over here, pretty easy to interact with, grayscale, lots of different settings in there. But before I get into that, I just wanna call out that they've got the kickstand in the right place. It's clear of that left crank arm, not gonna get hung up. It's adjustable length, quick release on both wheels, just standard 9mm axles with quick release skewer. And then we've got this nice minimalist chain cover with a plastic chain guide. So when you're pedaling along, hopefully you won't have any derailments where the chain sort of drops off and you have to get your hands messy because of that plastic guide. But then it's relatively lightweight, and your pants won't touch this and get greasy, which is very nice. I am wearing pants today. They haven't gotten hung up or snagged. They're not touching that chain. And it's a pretty handsome bike. They even managed to squeeze in bottle cage bosses, but it's a rigid fork, aluminum alloy, it's not suspension. So a lot of the comfort on this bike comes from the slightly higher capacity. These are like 700C by 50, roughly like 28-inch by 2-inch. The reflective sidewalls and the puncture protection, I love that, but you could run them at a little bit lower tire pressure, I believe all the way down to 35 PSI. And then with those swept-back handlebars giving you a nice upright body position, the ergo grips, slightly bigger saddle with a grip, kind of like a handle underneath, so you can lift up the bike and sort of swivel it around. That's all good, it's all well and good. But with this rigid seat post, you can swap that out for a suspension seat post. This is 30.9mm. So it's not the smallest. The smallest that I've seen is like 27.2. That's kind of like the standard, a little bit narrower. Having it slightly wider like that gives you more choices with suspension seat posts. So I appreciate that. And whether you're getting the high step or the step through, it does come in several different sizes. There are 3 total. Sort of depends on which platform we're talking about. But it's roughly the same setup over here. It just depends on how approachable you want to make the bike, or maybe what color. White's going to stand out a little bit better if it's a dark riding condition, and then those lights and stuff. I'm here with my friend Chris from Propel Bikes. How's it going?
Hey guys.
You predominantly carry like Bosch drive systems, and we were looking closely at Shimano and even talking with a Shimano rep a minute ago. What's been your experience riding this bike so far today? Like I noticed that it's
been nice. Quite frankly, it's my first time on the E6100, and I like it. I mean, it's smooth. I enjoyed it for sure.
I was excited because it was like, I noticed that it was a little bit zippier.
Yeah.
Did you, I mean, have you done the 6000, right?
Yeah, I did do the I've ridden the 6000, and I did notice, you know, a slight uptick in the amount of torque available. I mean, we only rode a brief period, but it does seem like it's got a good amount of power behind it.
Okay. Yeah, that was my experience too. And Shimano does seem to be a fairly reliable company. They've got the E8000, which is like their e-mountain bike motor. It's a little bit higher power and totally different display system. And apparently this motor, to me, it's a little bit louder than the older E6000, but a little bit quieter than the E8000 by about 2 decibels. So I could hear it, and we'll get on the bikes in a minute. And
yeah, it's quite a bit smaller than the 6000 as well. A little bit smaller form factor, which is nice.
so they made it smaller, but they gave you more power. And still, I think the weight might be fairly similar to that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. So you can turn the display on and the bike on by pressing that power button down there by the LED readout. And I think after a while, if the bike hasn't been turned on, you have to turn it on from there. But if the bike's been cycled on recently, you can just press this power button right here on the display and it'll turn on or off. So when it boots up, you can see the clock top left, a battery infographic which has 5 ticks which represent 20% steps. It's not quite as precise as like a battery percentage, but it's good feedback, and there is a range menu, so that gives you even more feedback. Speed, we're in miles per hour right now. Off, that's the level of assist, and we've got this nice remote button pad that's fairly easy to reach, but the buttons are kind of, I mean, it looks like a big button, but really the clickable portion is only towards this side over there, right? So if I click there, you get that nice beep feedback. So up or down, and then there's a select button in the middle. I didn't see like a walk mode button. I didn't see any USB charging ports or anything like that. So it's kind of basic. So we go up to eco, normal, or high. So we got 3 levels of assist. And then we see manual. There's also automatic, because Shimano does have an automatic shifting system like the Di2, but that's not set up here, so we're left with manual mode. And then cadence down here. So you can press that kind of a rectangle button here or here, and that's like a select button. So we're gonna rotate through from cadence to distance. So we've gone 0.2 miles, odometer, range, and a range is dynamic. So if we go from high to normal, we go to 45 miles to 65 miles. So it's a fairly efficient system that can go pretty far depending on what level of assist you're using. And again, the higher levels of assist, they just feel zippier. They're gonna get you going faster. And we continue on. They've got this really cool range chart, so it gives you feedback about each of the 3 different levels of assist, so you can kind of on the fly estimate which one you should be in, so you make it home without running out of batteries. And then time, kind of like a timer, average speed, max speed, and then back to cadence. There's a light button, but that does nothing because we don't have any lights wired in right now. And then if we hold either one of these select buttons for just a couple seconds, we get into this really deep menu, so you can clear, you can adjust the clock, start mode, which isn't letting us get into that. That might be because it's a demo bike or because of US regulations. Backlighting, brightness, beep, so we can turn that off, thankfully. Units, so miles per hour, kilometers per hour. Language, font color, this is cool. So white or black. So if we go to black, see how it inverts it? Now the display is like white background. That's kind of bright. So if you're riding at night, you might say, you know, I want nice dark background so it blends in, it's not as distracting. And then adjust, that's for derailleur, for like the Di2 system. Shifting advice, same thing, and shift timing, so you can update the Di2. So they've really built this to work on a wide range of bikes. I like that it's removable, I like that it's fairly large. I think it's kind of vulnerable, like this is not the display you'd want on a mountain bike because it sticks up and it's kind of big, but for kind of a relaxed cruise or city bike, it's a good choice. What do you think about the display? Got any other feedback, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's their intention with this, was really paired more with the 6000 series motor, which is more for the city specifically. And like you mentioned, they have some in which we've looked at before, some of the ones which might be more for the E8000, where it's actually like rather small and kind of sits off to the side,
kind of tucked in,
or you know, either way like that.
And color, well, it's like a blue grayscale thing, but they have color LEDs that give you feedback about what level of assist.
That's right, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And we were just talking with the Shimano rep also about the way that you can actually, as an option, I mean, the cool thing with this is actually you can swap any display similar to some of the other systems. So if you wanted to run a different display, you can do that. Or if you wanted to, you can actually just run the app
on your phone.
So Shimano has an app called the Ytube App, and so basically if you just open it up on your phone and you just say Ytube, right now I think it's not connecting, but basically you could connect via Bluetooth, and it's really cool. So you can actually do away with the display if you wanted to, which is a nice option.
He was talking about, like, yeah, you just set it up on the phone and toss it in your bag, so you don't even, you know, you don't even need to look at it if you don't want to.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's kind of neat. So yeah, coming back to what this bike offers, for $2,300, you get a 2-year comprehensive warranty. You get the Raleigh name and sort of the branding and stuff. This is a company that's been around, sort of a British company, since, like, you know, 1800s, 1887, I think, to be exact. And now they're owned by the Excel Group, which also has, like, LaPierre and High Bike and iZip. But, you know, this is some of their value, like, neighborhood offerings, and it does offer a lot of utility and some decent comfort for that price. It's amazing to have a bike like this. It's sold through dealers predominantly as well, right?
That's right, yeah. And I was pretty surprised, actually, though, the tires, they do offer a pretty good amount of comfort. Sometimes I'm concerned about a bike without suspension, but that 2-inch balloon tire is pretty comfortable.
Helps out a little bit. Yeah, and then they do also sell them online too now. So that's one of the things. They've got kind of the direct to consumer. And what's their...
Right. Yeah, you can order it on the Raleigh website and have it, like, picked up in a shop, which is kind of interesting.
Even by, like, their truck thing, right? So there's, like,
yeah, Beeline, which is owned by Excel North America. So that's kind of all within the Excel umbrella. So
very interesting.
Vertically integrated, as they say. Yeah.
There we go. Well, I'm gonna hop on this one and just, you know, show the camera and try to get some footage of the motor, and then you and I can both maybe ride back to the office in a second.
Sounds great.
Great. So I'm gonna stow that kickstand and take it up to high, just so it's extra audible for you guys. Put the key away so we don't have any accidental battery slip-offs. I do like that the battery pivots out from the side, because that's part of what allows for the low step design over there. See how it fits so nicely under that top tube? Very nice. Just pedaling out. You know, I'm not really pushing very hard right now, so I'm not getting a lot of support feedback. You can start to hear it a little bit more at those higher RPMs. And that's the case with most of these geared center drive motors. You get a great mechanical advantage when you start to switch gears, but you do want to be careful about pedaling hard and shifting at the same time, because that's a lot of pressure that goes into the chain, and this doesn't have shift detection. But it does have this nice little power meter. See there, that little kind of chart that grows. Do some shifting. Very cool. Okay guys, from here you can see that nice chain cover. It's aluminum alloy, so it shouldn't get rusty if you do scratch it up over time, and it's just really minimal, which helps to keep the bike lightweight. We've got the 9-speed drivetrain back there, an e-bike specific chain. I'm just gonna pedal along, shift through, and enjoy the ride. We are in the highest level of assist, so the motor's gonna be fairly audible, and I'm doing that purposely because your rides will be probably quieter than this. Brakes work great. Felt good shifting through. I did ease off just a little bit when I was shifting gears, so there wouldn't be too much mashing. And then, you know, there is a torque sensing element to the motor controller, so the harder you push, the more power you get back. It's fairly satisfying. Feels pretty natural. Definitely hear the motor here when we're climbing. Looking pretty good. It's a pretty handsome bike.
Colors match my helmet, you know?
That's right. Well guys, I think that's about it. I've got all the details for this bike, all the measurements, lengths, width, and everything. Width, back at the website. I welcome your feedback because I did review this in 2017, but quite a bit has changed, and it's just nice to hear. Like maybe you've got the older Shimano system, you've got some feedback about how well it held up. I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have fun out there, ride safe.